strangers introducing themselves in the middle of the street. But he's not a stranger, Mrs. Irwin, the woman named Alexandra said, her eyes dancing with obvious mischief. Oh? She glanced again at Bastian, who gave her his best smile. You've met, then? Properly met? I wouldn't think of speaking to a stranger, Alexandra said, her lips twitching a little as she gestured toward the third woman. But I don't think Mr. Di Giardino has met Mary. Mary is my cousin, and this is her former governess, Mrs. Irwin. Bastian, please, he replied, bowing over the dark-haired woman's hand when she offered it. You will permit me to escort you back to your hotel. I have lived for many years in Firenze, and would be happy to point out sites of interest. How very thoughtful, Alexandra said, and, with another look brimming with amusement, took her friend's arm and strolled forward. That was the start. He did not fool himself that Alexandra was a mate, but she was unusually prescient, and if she had training, he had a feeling she would make a gifted oracle. Instead, he wooed her and spent 5 years with her before she died of consumption, leaving Bastian with a heart made heavy with grief and a 2-year-old daughter named for her mother. He rocked Alessandra to sleep each night for a week following the death, her tears wetting his face and neck as he tried to provide comfort where he himself found none. He slept fitfully, his dreams haunted by Alex, by his guilt in not being able to save her when she grew ill. The dreams seemed to gain in intensity as the weeks passed. Alessandra was more resilient than he, and found solace in friends and sept members who came by each day. 2 months later, Alessandra was back to romping in the garden, laughing and singing and talking to the flowers and leaves and little beetles she found crawling in the loam. Alessandra has forgotten her mother, he told Ray, watching his daughter at play. I find myself torn between being relieved that she is not suffering and dismayed that she could so easily forget. Sandra is but 2 years, my friend, Ray told him, her hand resting on his arm. And Alex had been sick for much of the last year. I know it pains you, as well as your own grief, but, Bastian, Alex was mortal. You knew that someday she would grow old and die. At least her daughter will be spared such a fate. She is most definitely a blue dragon, Bastian admitted, even giving a short, pained bark of laughter when Alessandra pulled her pinafore and dress over her head and proceeded to run around the garden clad in nothing but her shift, drawers, and stockings. And you? Ray tipped her head to the side as she studied Bastian's face. She touched a spot on his cheek, near his mouth. You have lines that were not there a year ago. You grieve, that is right and proper. But do not make yourself ill. Pierozzo will not grant you the position of heir if you are pining for the loss of a mortal who was not your mate. She was not my mate, no, but I could do no less than grieve her passing, he argued, feeling that Ray did not understand, since she had never engaged in relationships with mortals. Just because she was not a mate does not mean I did not value her. No, of course not. I know how much she meant to you, and you to her. I apologize if I seem uncaring. It's just that mortals... Well, I have said enough on that score. I will respect your desire to honor Alex as you choose. Ray hesitated before she asked, Are you still having the dreams? Yes, he said, turning away and returning to the relative darkness of the house. Ray's forehead furrowed as she followed him. I do not profess to understand why you are unable to sleep without dreams of Alex, but perhaps... She bit her lip before saying quickly, Perhaps you should do as she wants. Alexandra is dead. Her appearance in my dreams is simply a manifestation of my grief, Bastian said flatly, avoiding the knowledge that he was lying to himself. At that realization, he mentally tisked and was obligated to add, It is perhaps something beyond my grief that causes her former chaperone to visit me in my dreams, but that is surely guilt that I could not stop Alexandra from falling to her own mortality. I'm not